Sharpening a Chisel. To view DVDs, drawings, inlays, and tools for sale, along with project articles, please visit my website at www.americanfederalperiod.com. Recently there was a blog entry on the popular woodworking website by Chris Schwartz titled Shut Up and Sharpen, where he describes his method of sharpening and then invited people to post videos with their method. And I agree with Chris. There's a lot of folklore and unnecessary complications when it comes to sharpening. It's actually a very simple process, but it seems that people think that you need fancy jigs or very expensive stones to accomplish it, but that's just not the case. And here I have what I use to sharpen. I have a hand crank grinder. I have an old combination India oil stone from Norton. I think I got this in 1978 or 79. One side's fine, the other side's coarse. I have a piece of plate glass with 3M wet and dry sandpaper that I get at Walmart. And it's 800, 1000, 1500, and 2000 grit. And probably the weirdest thing that I do is I use this cherry block that's been impregnated with a diamond paste. I forget which micron it is, 1 or 2 micron, but that does bring up a nice polish. And then I've got it on newspaper and a piece of non-skid like what you use for a router mat. Then I've got a block of softwood here that I'll use to test the edge. And I'm going to do this 3/4 inch Japanese chisel. Oh, I also have mineral oil and paint thinner mixed in this spray bottle. Is what I use for the lubricant. And the chisel is probably serviceably sharp because I don't usually put my tools away unless they're perfectly sharp. But just to make sure that you get a true representation of how quickly this is, I'm going to purposely dull it on the stone and then start with a chisel that would be extraordinarily dull. I'm going to set the tool rest on the grinder, check the angle and see if I'm right, and I'm off just a little bit. Yeah, that looks, it's still off a little bit. There we go. And the amount of grinding I'm going to have to do here would be similar to what would be done if I had nicked the edge, since I had dulled it so aggressively there on the stone. I'm just looking to see if I've removed the shiny piece at the end of the chisel, which would show where there was a flat, and I'm still not quite there. Now I'm good. Take some of the mineral oil and squirt a bead here on the coarse side of the combination stone, and then roll the chisel up till you feel contact with the bevel, and then drag it backwards. And I would grind at each time it needs sharpening, because you get that hollow ground effect and the honing goes extraordinarily quickly. And now I have a uniform scratch pattern along the cutting edge, so it's just simply a matter now of taking the big scratches and making them small scratches. And it should only take 1 or 2 passes per grit to accomplish that. Same procedure, just roll it up till I feel contact with the bevel, pull it back. And then of course the bottom space is only touched with the finest grit, because it'll be polished from the very beginning, and these Japanese chisels occasionally have to have a coarser grit applied to them as the hollow area is worn away. But I've got good hollow or good metal in front of the hollow area now, so I can just use the finest paper, which in this case is the 2000 grit. Now we'll take the diamond impregnated block of cherry, and this chisel is now sharp enough for any use. But this to test it out here, I'll place the block of wood in the vise and try to cut it. And the less you have to raise up on the chisel, the sharper it is, and it's not going to show up from that distance there, but I'm getting a continuous shaving of it after I get down past where the saw marks were at. And you'll be able to tell if you have any nicks in your blade because they'll show up as fine white lines, and this is leaving behind a very polished surface here. There, maybe that'll show up on the camera, the kind of chip that'll come off. You get one continuous shaving if the tool is really sharp. And I've got a very clean surface. I don't know if that shows up or not, but I got a very clean surface on the chiseled area with no striations, so we got a very good serviceable edge there in maybe a minute, 2 minutes at the most.